I'm Jaime Agostino, and this is Financial Minds Meet the Experts. On this show, we're joined by financial industry experts to talk about topics, trends, and themes that credit union professionals need to know about. Today on Financial Minds Meet the Experts, we will start our 4-week series, The Evolution of Credit Unions. We will be focusing today's chat on faster payments. Joining me to talk about faster payments is Eric Dotson, Executive Vice President of Aptys Solutions. Welcome, Eric. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Jaime, it's great to be here with you. Excited for the conversation today.
Great. So let's get started. Eric, I know you've been in the payments world for over 25 years. Can you tell me a little bit about the evolution you have seen during this time?
Yeah, it's been crazy. The technology evolution really has driven and accelerated the change in payments over those 25 years. Early in my career, I worked with Deluxe, the check company, right? So we printed checks. We were paper, and checks have been around for hundreds of years, right? And was at the time by far the dominant payment channel in the U.S. ACH was introduced in the 70s as a digital replacement for a number of paper check options. And every few years, there would be a new prediction of the demise of the almighty check. But volumes just continued to climb year after year. So what hindered the growth really for ACH, for example, as a replacement, and other options really was technology roadblocks. For example, I worked with a company that introduced the first web-based cash management solution with ACH. And prior to that, there were Windows-based solutions. Now, what you have to think about with a Windows-based solution was you had to take your system, and this was each credit union or bank when they were trying to provide it to their business customers or their members. They had to load the software onto stacks of floppy disks. These were the 3.5-inch disks, which had an amazing capacity of 1.4 megabytes of data, which crazy, right? And they would then mail that out to the customer, and then they would have to call the customer and walk them through how to install that onto their PC. And supporting this approach was a nightmare for financial institutions, not to mention the continued problems with virus protection and security and everything around it. So it was in the mid-90s when the World Wide Web, WWW, started up, right, and became a thing in everybody's brain, right? And I remember one of my important credit union customers telling me at the time, they were very hesitant to even put a homepage on the World Wide Web because of security concerns. It was those early days, really, that internet viruses were running amok all over the place, and people just really hadn't thought about security. So introducing a browser-based solution was a huge step and really created opportunities, but new challenges in the marketplace. And during that time, obviously card networks began to grow, the convenience of having a card, especially when debit cards started to take off. And just a little side note, I had a debit card in the early days of when I was a young student at college, had no understanding of really what it was. I just thought it was this credit card they had given me. So I went out, first time I'm using it, I'm making purchases with it. And next thing I know, one of my checks bounced. And I'm like, how could that be? I got all this money in my checking account. Call my credit union and they're like, oh no, you had all these debit transactions come in. I'm like, debit transactions, what are those? I thought I was using a credit card, but they took the time and educated me. It was a painful education, obviously, but it was just so convenient to use.
Mm-hmm.
So getting to where we are today, the key technology changes really that took off today was the smartphone. And the smartphone has really, in fact, back in the day, Microsoft had this slogan, right, that they wanted a PC on every desk in every home running
Mhm.
Microsoft Windows. Well, that can be changed today that it's a computer in every pocket, wherever you are, connected via cellular and Wi-Fi networks. So that has changed so much of what is going on today in the payments world, and that people want convenience. They want immediate payment connectivity in everything that they're doing. So it's interesting though, check still hasn't disappeared. And for younger generations, the debit card, which had been the primary mechanism for payments, still around, but it's starting to change and it's transitioning. And people are starting to leverage now payment options in their phones and in their apps that they're using. Venmo was key to this. Venmo came out and showed everybody that, hey, there's not only will it work, but there's also a demand for this omni-channel payments, right? Pay anyone, anywhere you are using your phone and an app on your phone. So it was, I think, the turning point really in what's happening in the financial industry today. And we're in the middle of this faster payments revolution now, that speed is key for payments.
Mhm.
Uh, and I think what will happen with faster payments as we move ahead is that it's going to, I think it'll be the knockout blow for check
Mm.
ultimately, but also it will diminish the reliance on credit cards throughout the industry. And at the end of the day, give us the capability to make payments like we talked about through there, with convenience, anytime, anywhere you're at, using your phone in the way that you need it to be. And the great part of it is your funds will stay at your financial institution, and you'll just move your money from your account to wherever it needs to go. So that's kind of where we're at today.
Okay, wow. And I remember, I'm part of that. I remember all of those things. I mean, checks, that's what I started using when I was in high school and college, and then graduated to the debit card. So I remember all of those things.
I'm
Um,
so glad you know about checks, because my kids today don't. They're like, checks? What's that?
yeah, I actually I had to show my 14-year-old how to write a check the other day. She didn't know what it was.
Oh, that's
So
funny.
with all of these changes, how are credit unions adapting to the change in landscape of payments?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a change that is taking place right now. And I think a lot of credit unions are trying to figure out, how do I go? What do my customers want? What do my members want? And how do I deliver that to them? And so this faster payments is going to impact everything. We're seeing just the tip of the iceberg right now in the changes that are taking place in payments. But what we see from consumers, from your members, is that they're leading the charge really with P2P payments.
Hmm.
They embraced P2P, and they liked the ease and the convenience that it offered them in making payments. And so, what P2P offers really is the best traits of some of the legacy payments that we've talked about. With a check, for example, I could carry that wherever I needed to. I could write a check to anybody and hand it out. Well, I can do that now from my phone. And so, what is available today is, and what soon will be available from the financial institution, is that same convenience and flexibility in payments, with the change that the funds will stay in the financial institution, and that there will be security around that. So the credit union needs to be looking at, how do I deliver these types of technologies to my customers, to my members? How do I bring the real time or the instant payments to my customers for that want to be able to make an instantaneous payment directly from either a mobile device or from their laptop or wherever they might be?
All right. What are the most popular forms of faster payments for these consumers? And what type of faster payments should credit unions then look at for 2022?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think the the P2P really is one that's kind of leading the way for consumers today, to be able to make those payments where they need to be. Coming on the heels of that is going to be, hey, what are the other types of ways? So when we talk P2P, that means person to person payments. But there's a whole nother alphabet that's coming down the road that'll include things like P2B, which is your private individual, personal individual to a business, right? Or it may be an A to A, which is an account to account. So if I need to move money from an account at one financial institution to an account that I have at another financial institution, I want to be able to make that transfer from one account to another and make it really easy using my phone. So it may be paying a business. It may be paying, moving funds from an account to another account. It may be a business paying you. So if there's a payout, maybe it's an insurance reimbursement that they want to be able to make that payment to you, to be able to give them that information so that they can make that payment and make it quickly so that you're receiving those funds right away. One of the things I think is really interesting in the industry right now, and again, this is one of those things that's driving change, is, for example, the whole gig economy. If you're driving an Uber, you're out delivering customers and moving them around. You have not only services that you're providing immediately, but you're also you have expenses that you're incurring immediately. You want to get paid as quickly as possible. And so this whole faster payments economy will allow you to be able to get payments faster and without the delay of having to wait, a couple of days, maybe even a week to get your payments from the people that you provided the services for. But with the changes that are going to be taking place, it allows you to get those payments immediately.
Wow. I have been seeing some businesses kind of using that as a promotion to get employees of getting paid for the day that you work on the day that you work. So it's just
Right.
interesting how this is all taking place. What is the adoption rate of these faster payments among consumers?
Yeah, it's really been soaring. And obviously, Venmo started this. We talked about that a little bit with their ease of use. The new players coming in, such as Zelle and Paymoly, bring with it the ability to transfer straight from your checking account with the added protection and security of your financial institution, protecting those funds and ensuring that those funds are moved when you need them and to your customers. So, because of that, we're seeing a lot of adoption, and it's only going to continue to grow, especially as the new infrastructure starts to really develop and be put in place. You're going to see things change, the way people use payments, the way they interact with businesses or with each other. It's going to change really, even from what we are anticipating today. I have no doubt that they're going to find new ways to make use of the new capabilities in the market today. So we see, one of the limitations of Venmo, for example, is you get your payment, it gets recorded in your app, but you truly don't have the money, right? You can't go and withdraw that from your financial institution until you tell Venmo, hey, you've got to get it to my financial institution. Well, when we connect financial institutions together so that you're sending from one account to another account, those funds are going to be there immediately and you'll be able to have that. And so I think you're going to see even more adoption and growth in that and more demand from your members to be able to have that kind of capability directly from you, their trusted financial institution.
Well, how will offering these forms of faster payments help credit unions evolve and stay competitive?
That's a great question. And I think this goes back to what I said early on in our discussion today. In order to stay competitive, credit unions need to embrace the technology that's driving change. Technology is really disrupting the financial space, and financial institutions are going to be different in 10 years. So, the new financial space, the way banking is being done, it's changing and it'll be done differently. And I look at it really and compare it to 20 years ago. Everybody went to Blockbuster. In fact, kids that were born 10 years ago may not even know what Blockbuster is, but Blockbuster was on every corner in every street of America, right? And everybody was going and checking out videos. It was the dominant media player in America. A small startup about 20 years ago named Netflix approached Blockbuster about acquiring them, and not once, but twice. And Blockbuster said no. Now looking back, I mean, looking at it, we don't even hear about Blockbuster. They're gone. Netflix is the dominant leader in the media technology industry. That's the kind of change we're facing in technology in the financial space. Credit unions need to embrace these changes because it's going to be the way banking is done in the future. And so it's, the financial institution that embraces it and really goes out and proactively pursues technology today is going to be ahead of their competitors in the marketplace and more likely to be successful in the new economy that's being created.
All right. Well, I think we both can agree, faster payments are convenient, sure. Um, but what about fraud risk? How can credit unions protect themselves while also offering faster payments to their members?
That's really one of the challenges that we face in everything we do in technology. How do we minimize fraud and risk? And I say minimize. It's almost impossible to say we can eliminate it. I've never seen a situation where we've been able to eliminate the fraud that potentially comes along, but we want to minimize it and manage that so that it is within the parameters that we anticipate. So what's interesting though is fraud and risk. There's a whole industry now that has grown up around it addressing fraud issues, right? You have fintech companies that is their whole focus is how do we help protect? And as we've created the new faster payments rails, the RTP and the FedNow that are soon to be coming to a local credit union, right? One of the mandates was to create fraud tools and security measures within those environments that minimizes the fraud and risk that we'll have. So it will continue to always be something we have to monitor, that we have to watch for, because there's always changes, new attacks that are starting to come about. And so we have to be ready to address those and prepared in every way that we can to be able to respond to those issues. But I think the industry is ready. It's not like the old days where we sent out the floppy disks to our customers, right? There are tools in place. There are monitors that we have that help us control what's happening. And so I think we'll be able to minimize any of the fraud and risk issues that we're anticipating.
Okay. Well, at Viso Financial, we work with a lot of smaller credit unions. They've got tight budgets, limited resources. Are they able to adopt these new faster payments as well?
Yes, not only able, but really, I think it's critical for them to be adopting those technologies. And for a smaller financial institution, I know it's hard. You're running your everyday business, and then you've got technology you have to deal with. And I'll have to tell you that I think one of the things that's critical for each financial institution is to understand that who you are is changing as a business. You offered financial services, and that needs to change. You need to embrace a little bit more your technology side. You're becoming a fintech that offers financial services. And so for a smaller financial institution, you don't have hundreds of developers or the resources to be able to manage all that. So you look for good partners. Viso is a great example of that. Viso is a good partner that can bring technology resources and capabilities to the forefront. And I know one of the things that we've worked with Viso on is Paymoly, being able to bring P2P to Viso so that you can offer it down to your member credit unions and out to their end user members so that they have a cost effective, easy to manage solution that they can go to market with and be successful. So I think that's that relationship, that finding somebody that that has the capabilities and the resources to partner with you, that can work with you to help you be successful in that space. And so I think that's a way that you can really embrace that fintech inside of you that needs to get out, right? Is finding a partner that'll work with you to help you be successful.
All right. Well, you had mentioned Paymoly, and for those watching that aren't familiar with Paymoly, what exactly is Paymoly?
Paymoly is a mobile application for payments. And in fact, the name itself is derived out of Payments Mobile Link. So it allows you to manage your payments from your mobile device. And it's an application that you can use in conjunction with your credit union, so that the credit union is involved at every step of the way in helping you to manage those payments. Today, it is a P2P application, but it truly is a mobile convergence platform that we will build other payment capabilities on. So as we move into this FedNow payment channel, where we're doing immediate payment options, that will become part of the Paymoly capability. So you'll have the ability to do P2P payments today, either via ACH or a debit card. But down the road, you'll be able to do an instantaneous payment through the FedNow payment rails. And we'll look at adding other capabilities on there, whether it's being able to scan a QR code so that you can make a payment to that merchant, or request to pay. That's a new feature that'll be available here in the next 30 days, where you could then go into your app and request that somebody make a payment to you. So those are capabilities that'll be in the palm of your hand and just make it easy to make payments. So for your member credit unions, here's a tool that you can go to market with. You don't have to go set up. You don't have to go and install some platform that you're going to be going to use, but it's there available via Viso to be able to offer out to your members.
All right. So just kind of recapping here, we've got the ACH rail, we've got wires, we've got checks, we've got the card rail. There's also RTP. And you had just mentioned FedNow. That's going to be the newest payment rail, which is set to be available in 2023. What does this service entail, and why would credit unions want to utilize it?
And that's a great wrap up question here, I think, going back to some of the things I've talked about throughout here. But let me just reemphasize that it will be the way of the future. I think the market is changing, and it's not financial institutions that are driving this, really. It is businesses and consumers that are driving this change, that they want payments faster now. I gave a presentation a number of years ago at a conference where I talked about the Google effect, right? Google came in, 15 years ago, or 20 years ago, and they started creating all this stuff, and they make this stuff available for free to the user. And so they kind of trained our consumers now that, hey, Google could do all this, and they could do it faster, and they could do it cheap, or free. So I want everything faster, and I want it free. So, credit union, can you offer that to me? Well, that's the kind of drive that's happening right now, is that consumers and businesses, they want it faster. They want it, less expensive, at least. If free would be great. So they want to be able to use these services to make payments immediately. FedNow gives us that capability to make an immediate payment. And for business customers, when you think of it, we talked about the gig economy, being able to pay somebody today for services that they provided during the day. That's part of what we're talking about here. Make those payments immediately. Or it may be a business who needs to pay for their widgets, and the widget manufacturer isn't going to send the widgets until they have a confirmation of a payment immediately. So I need those funds to stay in my account as long as I can. I'm a small business. So I wait for those funds until the last minute, and using FedNow, I can now make that payment immediately. Those funds are transferred, and they can then, the manufacturer can release the product to me, and that transaction is complete. So that's the kind of services that are coming, that FedNow allows us to be able to do in this new environment. So when we talk about the change in the financial industry, that's going to be part of it, but it's going to also change how business is conducted today, how consumers interact with businesses and with each other. And that's the whole, you know, shift that's taking place in this payment and technology revolution that's happening in the financial industry. So your credit unions really need to jump on as quickly as possible and start looking for opportunities to be successful today with their members. What are their members asking for? And they may not even be asking for it because they may feel like, hey, I'm going to get it somewhere else. They don't think their credit union offers it. So I think it's critical for the credit union to start thinking about, how do I communicate to my members that these types of things are available or they're coming? Because as you start doing that, you're going to find more and more opportunities for your members to interact with you and to engage with you, and it'll help to tie them in to your financial institution.
Great. Well, Eric, thank you so much. I really enjoyed the conversation and all the information you provided. And I also want to thank Strategy Core and their industry leading Bazing mobile app for sponsoring this episode of Financial Minds Meet the Experts. Modernizing your checking lineup with mobile first rewards from the Amazon Prime of checking. Digitally connect with relevant, money saving, and protective benefits that energize your credit union's checking lineup. Bazing brings popular subscription style revenue to checking to help replace lost income from overdrafts. Bundling non traditional benefits into your credit union's checking products help you generate valuable repeat revenue, boosts appeal to more members, beats your competition, and deepens member relationships. Learn more by contacting your Viso Financial corporate account manager. Eric, thank you again. Really appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Jamie. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate the invitation.